What's going on, my friends? Brezzy43 here, coming at you with another video. So yesterday we talked about my Players Cup 3 qualifiers run, and I've kind of shared a bunch of videos with some of my matches, as well as my team building process and things like that. And one of the things, if you remember, if you did see those videos, that I talk about is looking for a water type to utilize that is not Tapu Fini. So why would I want that? Why would I think that? Well, we're gonna go ahead and jump over to Picolytics here, and we're gonna take a look at Fini. So Fini's a great Pokemon for obvious reasons. Misty Terrain's an incredibly supportive terrain. It can help out. It can fulfill multiple roles. I've used this thing offensively. I've used it as a defensive pivot. I've used it as a Calm Mind setup. I've used it as Misty Terrain setter for my sweepers, and it can do it all, honestly. But the one reason why other water types might be looked at more right now than Tapu Fini is because Tapu Fini's special attack stat is pretty low. You basically have two options. If you one of the important things I always tell my friends when I'm talking about VGC is that you need to make sure that your Pokemon all can deal some form of damage. Pokemon that are good in singles, that are used as defensive shields and pivots, Pokemon like Toxapex and Chansey and things like that, they usually don't have much utility in VGC doubles just because they don't really deal much damage. And Tapu Fini does more damage than those Pokemon, but if you wanted to actually have some offensive capabilities with this Pokemon, your option is basically just to run Choice Specs. If you're going for this leftovers Calm Mind set, that's a great set. I've used it a lot myself. But to actually exert offensive pressure, Tapu Fini really needs to get a Calm Mind boost. Otherwise, the offensive capability is it's not quite there. As a Dynamax Pokemon, sure, it gets better, but it's a little bit less than what you would normally want for your water type. So if you want to use Tapu Fini, I highly recommend it. It's a great Pokemon. However, I'm here today not to talk about Tapu Fini, but to talk instead about other water types that you could use in your teams moving forward. Water types that I think might be good or not explored enough right now in this metagame. So the reason why I want to do this is because if we take a look at this metagame here and we start scrolling down, we're going to stop when we see the next water type, and it's going to be a little while here. So Tapu Fini, second most used water type in the metagame. I still don't see one yet. There's Rotom Wash at 3.97%. Continuing on, Lapras at 1.53, Araquanid at 1.43, Primarina, Kingdra, all at less than 2% usage. Suicune, but Suicune again is not really an offensive water type. Suicune's more of a supportive tailwind setter. Blastoise, Milotic. These are all Pokemon that Azumarill that are under 2% usage. And if we look at some of the teams that I've been doing a lot of looking at these teams that people are doing well with, and a lot of them have huge water weaknesses. They have a way to account for Tapu Fini, and then outside of that, they just have a bunch of water weaknesses. So a good offensive water type could potentially be super, super backbreaking in this particular format. Now, that's not the only thing you have going that you want to have on your team. You obviously have other things that you have to account for in the metagame, but a good offensive water type is kind of where I started this past team building experience for Players Cup. So if we look at the team that I played, was utilizing a Rotom. This Rotom was definitely all about setup. We had a Moongus. Getting a Nasty Plot up and then looking to sweep. Rotom has, with a Nasty Plot boost, Rotom is very, very, very potent offensively. Even without it, it can still Dynamax. It has quite a bit higher of a special attack stat than Tapu Fini at 10 points more. And this sort of spread really utilizes that type of this extra like oomph that you can get on your offensive stat. So Rotom Wash is a Pokemon I would highly recommend. This sort of team really enabled Rotom to be a Nasty Plot setup sweeper. However, I don't know if I still have the team saved. I know back in Series 6, I don't have the team still saved. Let me just throw it up here quick. This was Series 6 metagames. This was VGC 2020 Series 6. We built a team that incorporated a Rotom because at the time during Series 6, Lapras was really, really popular. It was right after all these Pokemon just got banned temporarily, and we were people were looking to Lapras and Comfy as sort of a duo. They would run quite a bit of speed investment in Lapras, and we ran a Reuniclus Trick Room team centered around Liepard. Liepard had Copycat for the interaction with Reuniclus, but then also had Fake Tears. And then we ran Rotom Wash, Volcarona for redirection and a good fire type, Dusclops as a Trick Room set, another Trick Room setter, and Rhyperior as another Trick Room sweeper. And this was the squad. This was Life Orb. This was Sash. This was Citrus. This was Safety Goggles. This was a Violite. And this was Weakness Policy. So with Fake Tears support, you don't actually have to run a Rotom. Our Rotom was very specifically tailored to beat this metagame. So we still had our 244 here, but we only ran 60 speed. And the reason why we only ran 60 speed is base 114 outspeeds modest max speed base 60 Pokemon like Lapras and Primarina, who are both in the metagame. And then from here, we basically ran this. And this was our Rotom that we could Dynamax on turn 1, and if you accounted for the Giga Drain proc from the Comfy, Max Lightning with a Fake Tears drop was a guaranteed KO after the Giga Drain. So this was a very specific Rotom set that we ran that was specifically tailored to beat Lapras, which I thought was fine at the time because that was the metagame that we were trying to fight through. So Rotom doesn't necessarily have to be a nasty plot setup Pokemon to really do damage, but it does help to have a team like this that can send it around. Because in a couple of my Players Cup games, I actually got multiple nasty plot boosts that gave me some serious offensive potential. Sometimes multiple nasty plot boosts in a single game that just allowed Rotom to just plow through a team. So definitely, I would recommend. Sorry, my friend's playing Destiny here, messaging me about it. So, this would be a Pokemon, a water type that I would highly recommend because it's a water type that already accounts for the Tapu Fini matchup. Which, if you're going to run a water type, you need to make sure that you don't get walled by Tapu Fini. And 2, this Pokemon plows through. Let's take a look. Positive matchup. I think this one's more of a neutral matchup than positive. Obviously, Glacier can hit it with a fighting move, but it's not stab and it's not a very strong max move. And if Rotom's in rain, Rotom's going to hit this thing. So I think it might be closer to a neutral matchup. But you're immune, resist, so I think that's a great positive for it. Obviously, not a good matchup. You have to have an answer for Rillaboom on your team. A Regieleki, probably not so great. Urshifu is... this one's probably closer to Chaotic Neutral than the Glacier one that I was talking about, because the Glacier one is... you can actually hit Glacier very well and you resist its attacks. Urshifu, you don't resist its attacks and it can hit you pretty hard. Porygon, good matchup. Lando, great matchup. Grimmsnarl, good matchup. Zapdos, good matchup. Amoonguss, not so much. Dusclops, fine. Moltres, good. Venusaur, need to have an answer to Venusaur on your team. So, Heatran, Torkoal, Celesteela, Metagross even. Rotom Heat, you have a very good matchup against all these. Even though you are neutral to electric, you still hit these other electric types very hard as well. So I would highly recommend Rotom if you're looking for a good water type to start with. You guys know this. I told you about this yesterday. What other water types could you potentially use right now in the metagame? Well, there's an interesting duo here that I had explored, which was Kingdra. I started to kind of throw this together earlier. There was a rain team that I considered building off of, which was one Nars rain team from the um, from the last Players Cup. And this was the squad, and he had an Entei. He was running an offensive variation of Politoed. I don't know how I feel about that. In my opinion, I feel like you would want to support Politoed, because then I think you should. He used to play to a Celesteela endgame, so the offensive Politoed made sense. His whole idea was to get off as much damage as he could, get a bunch of damage and everything, and then Celesteela would win in the late game with Heavy Slam, Leech Seed, Protect, stalling with leftovers. I think that's fine. I think that strategy still works, but I would like to see a support Politoed. The reason why is because Politoed gets access to Perish Song. And a lot of times these rain teams, because they can be tailored so offensively, Perish Song gives you a really nice win condition in the late game, where you Dynamax early, like you most likely will want to do, and you get a couple quick knockouts, and then you play to a Perish Song endgame. So that's obviously a fantastic strategy. So if I was going to throw one together here, this is basically the rain team I was thinking about playing for the Players Cup. Perish Song, Scald, Helping Hand, and Protect. Protect is really important on these Perish teams. I'd go probably as close to max as I could while still hitting my even number in Berry. I like Bold Nature better than Calm, but I know some people like Calm. I'd aim for your jumps. So there's the first one, 116 is the next one, 196 is the next one. We'll go 196. You could do like 4-4 and then 60. You don't need much speed, and you don't really need much special attack either, because you are supportive and you get rain boosted Scalds, which is good. Raichu, probably Focus Sash, Lightning Rod. You could do Assault Vest, but you are probably going to be going for Fake Out, Volt Switch. I liked Eerie Impulse a lot when I used it, and then the last move. What did I decide on? Fake Out, Volt Switch. Oh, Nuzzle. Nuzzle was what I decided on. Nuzzle's pretty good. You could supplant Eerie Impulse for Thunderbolt if you wanted. Up to you. But then there's Celesteela. I like the weakness policy set personally. You can go for Protect, Air Slash, Flash Cannon. Raichu's probably Timid Max as well. If you're running Focus Sash, if you're running Assault Vest, you'd probably reduce some of this for more HP, and maybe even a little bit of special defense, depending. But I like Sash personally. Air Slash, Flash Cannon, and Meteor Beam would be the moves that I would choose. I ran AV in the Players Cup, and that was fine too. But I think policy for this type of team would be pretty great. You don't need much speed. I think I did the calc in base 60 outspeeds the relevant things after a Nuzzle from Raichu, which is good. Max attack for sure. And then you could put the rest into the bulk here. You could go like 4-4, something like that. I think I ran 195, and I put these extra points into special defense. You can do whatever your heart desires there. Rillaboom has to be run offensively, in my opinion. Technically, it would be okay to be Assault Vest, but this team struggles pretty hard with the Kingdra mode against Tapu Fini, and so having a way to reset the terrain, to change the terrain and pressure Tapu Fini offensively is a big deal. You don't even have to necessarily run Choice Band. If you're gonna run Perish Song, I would recommend Miracle Seed, because you can still run Protect. So you could do Protect, Grassy Glide. You could run Fake Out as well if you wanted for double Fake Out. I don't hate that. I think double Grass is good, and then U-Turn potentially as another option. Otherwise, Rillaboom obviously gets other good moves as well. It gets Knockoff, gets High Horsepower. You could probably run High Horsepower instead of Wood Hammer. You could run Knockoff instead of Wood Hammer as well, or instead of High Horsepower. That's fine. I like Max Attack, and then I found a good spread that I think hit. I think I did this. This optimizes for 160, 172. No. What's 16 times 12? It's Whoops. Oh yeah, 192. Okay, I was right. Yeah, so 192 is the optimal level to run your Rillaboom for grassy terrain recovery. This gives you a 12 HP every turn while being max attack still, and then putting the majority into your special defense where you need the help. You could drop this down to 100 in favor of some more speed if you wanted. I know Juan did something like this. I think this is fine as well. You could do either one. It depends on what kind of role you want to run your Rillaboom as. And then Entei, I think Entei, I decided on Shuckleberry instead of Assault Vest. I know a lot of people like Assault Vest, but Entei with Shuckleberry is really good in my opinion because you need something for the Regigigas matchup. So you're gonna run Sacred Fire, Protect, Extreme Speed, and Stone Edge. And then I had a specific set that I had. It was 140 for grassy terrain recovery. I was max speed. And then I had a certain amount here that I'm not remembering off the top of my head that gave me the best chance to live. I think it might have been this. This looks familiar for some reason. This gave me the best chance to live max strike from Regigigas as well. And then this Entei can serve on both modes. You can lead it against Regigigas. You can go Raichu, Entei, fake out the Weezing, and then Sacred Fire the Regigigas. If you're still having trouble with the Regigigas matchup, you could change out Nuzzle or Eerie Impulse for Charm to drop physical attack, which I think is good as well. But the Entei can come in the back of the Kingdra mode at this position. You can go Kingdra, Raichu, Entei, Rillaboom. You can go Kingdra, Raichu, Politoed, Entei. You can go Kingdra, Politoed, Entei, Rillaboom. And this Entei can come in the back of this mode and pick up KOs with Extreme Speed and Stone Edge. But this gives you an offensive 2 potential Dynamax candidates that can deal a ton of damage and play to a Perish Song endgame. This Entei is not very offensive though, so you have to be mindful of that, where you won't be able to Dynamax Entei very, very reliably. One had something like this, and then like I think it was like this. I don't really know what this is EV'd for. When I did my calcs, I wanted to be Jolly Max, and then I wanted to be a certain amount here. I got to an even number here, and then I went to, I think, 60, and then I did this. This gave me the best chance to live Regigigas, Max Strike. Shuckleberry lets us live Max Quake, and then get a Sacred Fire off. Potentially, this allows you to speed tie Regigigas as well, so you can do either one there. This is a decent place to start for Kingdra. I'm probably going to end up using this team on channel at some point here, but this is where I would start with this. Another potentially good water type that you could use in this metagame is Araquanid. Why in the heck would anyone use Araquanid, Brezzy? Araquanid's offensive stats are terrible. It doesn't do any damage. What is it good for? It's just a bulky Pokemon. Well, Araquanid gets an ability called Water Bubble. Water Bubble reduces damage taken from Fire-type moves by 50% and doubles the power of Water-type moves used by the ability bearer. It also prevents you from being burned. So, if we take a look at Araquanid's stats again, this is not the worst Trick Room speed stat. It's not great, but it's not the worst. Only having 3 weaknesses is really nice, but you're almost always going to be running water moves with this. If we pull up Araquanid, I like Safety Goggles because this allows you to completely ignore Amoonguss until the end. So Araquanid, this helps you not get put to sleep by Amoonguss and things like that. And then you would run Protect. This is a set that I saw before. This This is what somebody was running in one of the other previous Players' Cups. Now, I don't love this set for a couple of reasons. One, you're physical. Even though your 70 base attack is higher than 50 technically, you're going to run into Intimidators. And if we take a look, Rack-Wanted, Brave, this doesn't matter too much, but we're going to take a look at Incineroar. And I know a lot of them run Careful instead here, and they run 140 and also level 50, not level 100. And this is 116. Yeah. Yep. So if you put the reason why I don't love this is if you get caught in a position where you get intimidated, and then they lead an Intimidator or something, or they switch it in, they could potentially switch it out and switch it back in and put you to -2. So if we drop this to -2, you are setting up the rain and everything, which is good. This still does a ton of damage. But if we take a look at this one, you actually get quiet. You actually get access to Hydro Pump. And Hydro Pump is a way stronger move. And you would probably run double water with this other set. So if you wanted to run physical, let's go back here. If you wanted to run physical, I would probably recommend this. You could do Leech Life instead of Lunge if you wanted, but you're mostly going to be clicking water moves anyway. If you wanted to run special attack, I would probably run double water. I would probably do Hydro Pump, Scald, Protect. You could still run Wide Guard. I think Araquanid also gets Bug Buzz, but I'm not really interested in clicking, especially off of a base 50 attack. I'm definitely not interested in clicking anything but water moves. So this is something to think about. If I was going to throw a team together real quick with Araquanid on it, it would probably involve Porygon, and probably the defensive one. I know some people are doing some stuff with offensive ones lately. Actually, it would be Relaxed. The Relaxed is one that I ran. And I ran this. I couldn't remember where the jump was. That's why I was going so slow. You don't necessarily have to run the Eerie Impulse if you don't want to. But Tri Attack, Trick Room, Recover, and then from here, Thunderbolt, Ice Beam, Eerie Impulse, anything like that. And then these two can basically go onto any team. You could put them onto the team that I was running before with Moltres, Raichu, Incineroar, and then something else, probably a Grass type. You could change up the... You could basically put these two on any sort of offense, any sort of team, and this is a good enough Trick Room mode in a lot of situations. Incineroar is really popular. A good Grass type Rillaboom is really good. You could go for from here. You could go for Moltres. You could go for any Dynamax Sweeper you want, and then like I know some people are doing. Cinderace is becoming popular again. You could do Cinderace. You could do almost anything you wanted with this. This is just a 2 Pokemon Trick Room mode that plays well with Incineroar because Incineroar can set up Trick Room with Fake Out. And then Parting Shot away and reduce damage that way. So the other reason, sorry if I'm talking too fast, I'll keep that in mind here, but the other reason why Araquanid is really good right now is, let's take a look at Araquanid's resistances. Fire, Water, Ice, Fighting, Ground, Steel. Well, there's a Pokemon right now that only uses these 4 moves as coverage, and it's everywhere. It's the third most used Pokemon at 27.1%. So you, as Araquanid, you resist Glacier's, all of Glacier's attacks. Let's take a look at Glacier. Let's go level 50. Ice Crash, High Horsepower, Close Combat, Heavy Slam. Dynamax. Okay. they don't do much to you. They hit you for their most damaging move is 24% at most, which is what you're doing. But you're setting up Rain, and Rain is going to hit even harder the next time. Even if they're Assault Vest, you're still outputting a ton of damage. Like I said, you could alter this to physical as well. And we're gonna go Liquidation because you're probably only clicking water moves anyway. In fact, Liquidation's actually weaker. Oh, we're still Intimidated. Sorry. Looks like it's stronger by a good amount. However, that's assuming you haven't been Intimidated, and that's also assuming that Glacier hasn't boosted its defenses at all with either of these options. So I think both are fine. You could pick either one, but I think Araquanid's a great option, specifically because of all these resistances to these common types. And you're going to continually deal more and more damage every time you hit it. So keep that in mind. Araquanid, fantastic. I think it's a good Pokemon right now. Just have to account for the things that wall it, which Tapu Fini is going to wall it. There's going to be some grass types that wall it, like Rillaboom and things like that. So just having answers to those Pokemon on your team is going to be really beneficial. So that's Araquanid. We talked about Kingdra. We talked about Rotom. There's one other Pokemon that I want to talk about, and it's actually a team that a Japanese player. Let me make sure that I have the name right before I say anything, because I don't want to butcher the name. I do a lot of looking on Twitter for teams, and one of the things that people do is they post. There's a Twitter page called Liberty Note. It is in Japanese, but these guys, this account, whoever runs this account, they post all of the Japanese teams that perform in tournaments. And there was one that caught my eye yesterday that I'm probably going to feature on this channel. I might change some of the sets, but it is the first really successful Lapras team that I've seen in this series. So I'll just throw it on here quick. I've got the team up. This individual ran Lapras. Lapras was Life Orb with Shell Armor, Protect, Perish Song, Hydro Pump, I'm assuming, and I like what's that move? There's a ice move that is super effective against Freeze Dry. Freeze Dry is super effective against water types. You trade off damage as a max move for this good effect here. Your Modest Max. This person ran. Sorry, it took me a long time to figure this out because this team report's written in Japanese. So this person ran 156. They ran 52. They ran 20, and then they ran 28. I don't know what this 28 speed's for. I couldn't tell you, but I personally, just based on my understanding of optimization, is that I would probably reduce this to 108 to get this 219 number. If this is really important to certain calcs, which it doesn't sound like it is, in the team report, you could potentially drop this down. If it is important, you could mix it up between the bulks. You could do something like this. You could go down on this one a little bit and favor a couple more points here. You could do whatever you wanted to, but this would be optimized for Life Orb. But just for the sake of the argument, this person ran 105 or 225 HP. They basically was setting up screens, and this is a classic combination here. Lapras in the front, set up your Aurora Veil, Ferrothorn in the back, pick up the win from there. This person was running Body Press, Iron Defense, Leech Seed. I don't love this set. I think that you get walled by some things, but I think it's a good place to start, and I'm definitely going to start here first before I discredit it, because Body Press off of Ferrothorn after an Iron Defense is really, really strong, and being a Grass type is really important for resistances for this team. You could change up one of these moves and run something slightly different if you wanted to. This Porygon It's another Pokemon that often comes in the back for this person's team that uses Tri Attack, Ice Beam, Trick Room, and Recover. So unlike the Porygon that I ran on my Players Cup team, this one actually has some investment. This is Modest 28, 132. Yep, and then 100. And then because you don't want to waste your 4 AVs, just put 1 point here. It's not going to matter that much. But this is actually an interesting Porygon set. I think there's one small optimization you could make. If you're going to run Modest like this person is, Porygon's jump happens at 36. So you could just drop 1 point here and jump up to 36 and get that extra value. That's what I would personally do. You could drop it from either defense stat, whichever one is more important for your Porygon. But this is where I would probably start if I were to make the team on my cartridge. Next Pokemon is Incineroar. Incineroar carries the Shuca Berry, which I have become quite fond of on this Pokemon. I think I clicked something. Sorry, I think my palm bumped something. Okay. Incineroar has Flare Blitz, Fake Out, Parting Shot, and it actually carries Protect. And there's more on this why later, but when you play to a Perish Song endgame, it's really important to have Protect on at least 4 Pokemon, in my experience. Which is why this Pokemon has it. Careful Nature. This person ran this Incineroar spread, and the reason why, based on my understand, is that you want to run some speed for Electro Ball. But if we take a look, Regieleki. I did this last night with my. Whoops, it's okay. If we look at 252, Timid, Choice Specs, Thunderbolt, Volt Switch, Electro Ball, and something else. It doesn't really matter that much. Maybe it was Modest I was calculating for. I don't fully remember why. Oh, it's Dynamax. Right. So if you're going to lower this, if you're going to run Careful Nature instead, Careful 140 still has a chance to KO with Electro Ball. So what you can actually do is you don't need to run all that speed. This is what I was running previously. If you drop this down a couple of notches, and you go up to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, boom. At 36 speed, you actually live Electro Ball. Electro Ball works in such a way that it checks like groups or tiers of speed. So if you're in this speed tier, it does this much damage to you. If you're in this speed tier, it does this much damage to you. And so this 36 EVs jumps you up to where you need to be for that. And still gives you the 140. You could drop this down at this point as well, and still be fine. This individual went for the first jump and then put the rest into defense. But since we're not gonna run 100 speed, since we're gonna run 64 EVs less, you can actually put those 64 EVs somewhere else and be okay. So if we go back to our team here, if we go down to 36, like we talked about, we free up 64 EVs. You could go to 140 here, which is where I've had success using it. You could put some back into defense and lower this a little bit, whatever you want to do. But this is a good option here. The next Pokemon on the team is Garchomp. Garchomp has seen a little bit of usage on some teams, But Rough Skin Garchomp with Assault Vest. This is why the Protect is on Incineroar, is because the Garchomp has Assault Vest. And this is a pretty easy Garchomp set. Jolly. Max. And this person ran Double Ground. Rock Slide, and I think Dragon Claw. This person actually said that, this person actually said that they ran Breaking Swipe instead of Dragon Claw as potential tech, which is a weaker move outside of Max, but about the same move inside of Max, I believe. Let me check quick. Let's see. Breaking Swipe is base 60, so it's 110 base power. Yeah, so you're trading 20 base power in both modes. You're getting 110 base power max move if you don't run Dragon Claw, but you get the extra reduction of attack that Garchomp potentially could offer. You could leave this if you wanted, up to you. But this is what I like to run. I think I'm going to try Breaking Swipe first. This is what this person agreed on as well. And then from there, maybe change it to Dragon Claw. And the last Pokemon is another one that hasn't seen much usage yet. It is Tapu Koko. Tapu Koko is a good Pokemon. In previous metagames, in Sun and Moon, it was like cream of the crop, best, one of the best Pokemon in the entire game. And it's because of the addition of Regieleki doing the Tapu Koko role a bit better. Tapu Koko has fallen off pretty hard. This is an offensive Koko with Protect, Volt Switch, Dazzling Gleam, and Thunderbolt. And it is Timid Max. Actually, this person ran Modest. I don't like Modest. I'm going to run Timid. The extra firepower from Modest is not a huge deal. You've already got Magnet for that reason. So yeah, this is probably a team I'll feature on the channel at some point here. It sounds like the combination of Pokemon is... We'll do some moving here. So it sounds like the combination of Pokemon is such that you either lead... Your primary Dynamax candidates are Lapras and Garchomp. You can do things like Lapras Koko, Lapras Incineroar, Lapras Garchomp, Garchomp and Koko, Garchomp Incineroar, and you basically, if you're not bringing Lapras, you're doing Garchomp, Koko, Porygon, Ferrothorn, most likely is what it sounds like from this report. But this team can Dynamax Lapras early, potentially pick up some knockouts and get Perish Song going, or it can set up Aurora Veil and then have Porygon and Ferrothorn in the back under Aurora Veil, which is incredibly difficult to knock out. It might be possible that you end up wanting to change the item on Lapras to Light Clay and redoing these EVs. If this once I try this team a few times, if I'm really interested in continuing with it, being able to set up as many turns possible of Aurora Veil and then getting these Pokemon underneath them and actually having them carry is a potentially viable strategy as well. We saw a streamer by the name of Fevzi do this in one of the regionals. I think it was in late 2019. Fevzi ran Light Clay Lapras and then put Ferrothorn and Conkeldurr and Dusclops and Pokemon like that underneath Aurora Veil in the late game, which are very difficult Pokemon to knock out in general. So that's one option you have here, but you do have quite a bit of firepower with Koko and Garchomp and things like that. So definitely interested to try this team. If you can make Lapras work, Lapras is a good Pokemon. Previously, we've seen things like Pokemon like Whimsicott partner very nicely with Lapras. You can give Lapras Tailwind. You can give it Fake Tears support so it can knock things out and be an offensive threat. You can also... We've seen Lapras Alchemy before, where Alchemy can use Decorate to decorate Lapras. Lots of different things you can do with Lapras to make it good, but I think Lapras might be pretty decent right now. You've got Koko and Ferrothorn for the Tapu Fini matchup that Lapras would normally be walled by. I think that I would personally be more interested in running a Grass move on Ferrothorn to beat it, to beat Tapu Fini, but again, I'm going to try this person's team first before I make any changes. Outside of maybe this small EV optimization for Life Orb. So that's Lapras. We talked about Lapras, we talked about Araquanid, and we talked about Kingdra, we talked about Rotom. Those are 4 really solid water types I would start with. If you were looking for some other ones, I'm not going to build any teams on this here. I'm just going to touch on them real quick again. Primarina. I think Primarina basically, I think it got outshined a little bit by Tapu Fini. You get much more immediate offense with Primarina than you do with Fini, but you lose out on a lot of defensive bulk. And speed, which speed doesn't matter a ton, but you lose out. The main thing is this defensive bulk, and the ability on Fini is a bit more all-encompassing. You get terrain, which is valuable to have on a team. You also get terrain can support your allies as well as be supportive for Primarina. Liquid Voice is good for like spread Hyper Voice, but that's the main reason. I think Fini outshines Primarina, but you can still use Primarina. Primarina's still good. It dominated VGC for the end of 2019 into 2020 when it became legal. So it was very prominent in most of 2020. Suicune, I don't know much about this Pokemon. I've never personally used it. Looks like its stats are very similar to Tapu Fini. Just a bulky water type that has access to Tailwind and Snarl and things like that. I don't really consider this to fit the category of water types that I was talking about today. But if you ran a Life Orb on it or something, I'm sure there's some sort of offensive variation you could run. I know people were doing some things with Blastoise. I've never personally had much success with Blastoise. But I know that Life Orb or White Herb with Shell Smash stuff is something that people do. After a Shell Smash, this Pokemon has some offensive capabilities, but it really needs to have that Shell Smash in order to do much. Other water types, Milotic has seen a recent resurgence as a partner for Cinderace. And other Pokemon that maybe you don't want to get intimidated. You can lead Milotic next to this Pokemon. If they intimidate you, you get a free special attack boost with competitive. And Milotic can actually be an offensive threat with a boost from competitive. And Azumarill took on a supportive role this generation. Back when it first came out in the Isle of Armor, we saw Azumarill be used as a Trick Room sweeper with huge power. But Sap Sipper's support with Citrus Berry and Aqua Jet for Colossal is definitely where we see it now. So that's a potential option. I don't know. I haven't seen many people use offensive Swampert. I know it does a really good amount of damage and has incredible defenses, but I really don't know much about this Pokemon from a competitive double standpoint. If you like it and you can find a team that it works in, definitely do it. And now we're getting down to some Pokemon that are even less used. So, yeah. I guess the moral of the story is that, in my opinion, water types are great right now. There's a lot of demand and need for good offensive water types that aren't Tapu Fini. Tapu Fini comes with its own set of weaknesses. Being weak to poison and walled by things like a Moongus that's rising in popularity. Even though Moongus can't spore through Misty Terrain, it still walls Fini and can launch Sludge Bombs or clear Smogs to remove the Calm Mind boosts, things like that. So having a Pokemon, a water type like Rotom or like Kingdra or like Araquanid or like Lapras that do something else besides just set up Misty Terrain and Calm Mind up are good places to be. I'm not bagging on Fini. I love Fini. As you can see, you have Fini on multiple of my teams. But with Regieleki and Rillaboom prominent, certain water types are being pushed out of the metagame, and I think finding a good team for one of these water types to resurge is definitely going to be important moving forward into the coming weeks. So yeah, that's my take on water types. Tomorrow I'm going to feature one of these teams. I'm going to try to get the Lapras team ready tonight. I have to do some final breeding because this person who shared who did the team report did not put up a rental code. So I've got most of these Pokemon in console. I just need to get the EVs correct and how I want them. But if I don't get that done in time, I will be using I'll be using a Kingdra team. But eventually I'll get around to that as well. So that's going to be my plan for tomorrow and through the rest of the week, is probably just exploring some different teams featuring a strong water type. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed this video. Sorry if I got to rambling or talking too quickly. But I hope you found it entertaining and that you learned something, and that maybe you agree with me, or maybe you want to try one of these other water types, or if you've got another water type that you think might be offensive and could potentially be used, leave a comment in the comment section. I'd love to hear about it. But for now, I'm gonna go have some lunch, and I will talk with you all sometime tomorrow when I post the next video of one of these water teams. So have a fantastic day. Thanks again for all your support. If you like what you see, hit the subscribe button. It really helps me out a ton. Otherwise, like the video, leave a comment, whatever you can do to support me. I greatly, greatly appreciate it. And I will see you all next video.